In our video for today, we're going to be looking at the Business Studies Paper 1 in preparation for November 2025 examination. We are going to use November 2024 to help you prepare and guide you for the exam ahead. Before we start with this paper, I have a humble request from everyone consuming this content. Can you please share this content with your teachers, your students, your family members, and everyone that you believe will benefit from this channel? This will help me to improve this channel and increase the number of participants that are benefiting in this channel. Now, without wasting time, let us look at the approach for the Business Studies Paper 1 in terms of how are we going to be revising the studies or the lessons that you have studied throughout the year. So I'm going to be looking at the paper, which is the question paper, and then we're also going to be looking at the marking guideline. As we go through the question paper, I will elaborate and give you a better idea in terms of what you need to do when you come across the question of similar nature. Now, what do we know about the paper that you're going to be writing in November 2025? Paper 1 will be made up of 150 marks, and you're expected to spend 2 hours of your time. It is very important, candidates, to understand that you have a limited time to complete this paper. Therefore, you do not have any time to waste. That is why that I'm here to guide you in terms of how are you going to effectively use your time to ensure that there is no time that is wasted in such a way that you are not able to complete your paper within the stipulated timeline of 2 hours. Now, let us look what we have. First, we're going to look at the instruction and information and understand the instruction and information that we have before we can even look at the paper itself. So why is it important for you to start looking at the instruction information? It gives you a guideline, a guidance and guideline in terms of how are you going to approach or how are you supposed to approach the paper during your 2 hours in the exam room. It is important, candidate, to understand that you need to read the instruction and information in the paper. Do not make assumption that you've seen this instruction and information, as some of the content might change. So make sure that when you get to the exam, you do not make an assumption that you've always been reading this instruction and information throughout the year. So nothing will change. It might happen that some part of the instruction and information might have changed for the final. It's not the same as your trial, your March, as well as your June exam. So please, I emphasize again that you read the instruction and information. Now read the following instruction carefully before answering the question. It is the first thing that you need to do when you get to the exam. The first thing that you are going to be doing is to read the instruction carefully before you answer the question. Number 1, the question paper consists of 3 sections and covers 2 main topics. So section A, it is a compulsory section. So what does that mean, candidates? It means that you have to answer everything that is in section A. The information in section A or the questions in section A need to be responded to. You have to answer those questions. You have no option to choose not to answer any of the questions that you will have in section A. And then we're looking at section B. Section B consists of 3 questions, and you need to answer only 2. So now when you're looking at section B is a special child because you have 3 questions, but you have a choice to answer only 2. And that is a good thing, candidate, to understand that you have that privilege to choose that you are going to only answer 2 of the 3 questions. And then when you're looking at section C consists of 2 questions and answer any one of the two questions in the section. So now when you're looking at the business studies, one of the most nice thing about it is that you can pass by only knowing certain topics and not knowing other topics. Because when you get to section B and section C, you have a choice to choose whether you want to answer question 2, 3, or 3 and 4. So that is a great thing to know, that you are able to choose what you believe you are best in, or you are able to choose the topic that you are familiar with. So make sure when that time comes, you are choosing the question that contains the topic that you are familiar with. Do not make a mistake to say, I'm going to choose this question, but I'm not that familiar with, or I'm not that comfortable with. Choose whatever that you are comfortable with. And what is also important about section B and C, please do not answer 3 questions in section B hoping that the examiner would choose the highest, or where you got the highest marks. Unfortunately, in the marking center, they will only mark 2 for section B. No matter how good your question number 3 is, it will not be marked. So do not waste time trying to answer 3 questions, because you will not have sufficient time to respond to section C. Now, moving to section C again, please do not try to answer 2 questions, only answer 1. The reason you are doing that is because the examiner will only mark 1. So your first answer or your first question in section C is what will be marked, and the rest will unfortunately not be marked. For that reason, candidates, it is very crucial, or rather very important, that you ensure that you stick to the instruction number 1 and do exactly what is in this instruction. Number 2, read the instruction for each question carefully and take note of what is required. So it is very important that you read the instruction carefully. By not reading the instruction carefully, you are running a risk of responding in a way that is not required, which might cost you marks in the exam, or when the markers are marking, they might end up not marking your solutions because you have not responded as required per question. I'm going to make an example, candidates. In some question, you'll be asked to return A, B, C, or D. And if you happen that you decide to respond with a full sentence, then you might not be marked. So you need to follow exactly what you have been asked in the instruction. So read each question carefully and take note of what is required. Note that only the answer to the first 2 questions selected in section B and the answer to the first question selected in section C will be marked. So this is very important, candidates. So it basically tells you how they're going to mark section B and section C. They're saying for section B, they're only going to mark your first 2 response or first 2 question. And then for C, they're only going to mark 1, and that will be your first question selected. It is for that reason I had emphasized to you to say, please make sure that you do not waste your time trying to answer all the 3 questions in section B, and for section C trying to answer all the 2 questions, because you are basically going to be wasting your time and you're not going to be marked for that, unfortunately. So don't waste your time in a limited time exam trying to impress the examiner with what they're not going to mark. So just respond or choose the part or the question that you believe that you are well equipped to provide the good explanation and the good response for. Then number 3, answer the questions and number the answers correctly according to numbering system used in the question paper. No marks will be awarded for answers that are numbered incorrectly. Candidates, again, the numbering is very important in the exam. So use the numbering that you have been provided in the question paper. Because if you divert from that numbering, you are running a risk of not being marked. So make sure that you are following exactly the numbering process or pattern that you have been provided in the question paper. Because if you decide to create your own numbering pattern, you might not be marked. For example, if the numbering pattern is 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, do not change it to be Roman figure 1, Roman figure 2, Roman figure 3. So make sure that you are following the numbering pattern that you have been provided in the question paper. Then number 4, except where other instructions are given, answer must be written in full sentence. This paper is made up of different sections. Section A might give instruction that you need to return A, B, C, or true or false. However, when you move to section B and section C, unfortunately, you need to respond in full sentence. So make sure when you get to section B and section C, unless there's an instruction that says otherwise, ensure that you are providing the full sentence. So it is very important that you are providing the full sentence, because the examiner or the marker will be looking for full sentence where there was no prior instruction that states otherwise. And then we're looking at number 5. Use the mark allocation and nature of each question to determine the length and the depth of an answer. As we go through the question, as I prep you for the exam ahead, you will realize that I'll give you a guidance in terms of if you have 2 marks, what is expected of you. If you have 4 marks, what is expected of you. And if you have 10 marks, what is expected of you. So it is very important that you listen properly in terms of the guidance that I'm going to provide you. How are you expected to provide answers, or how far you need to go, how many solutions you need to provide, how many explanation you need to provide per each question that you'll be provided. So make sure that you use the mark allocation as a guidance to determine the length as well as the depth of your answer. And then when we're looking at number 6, it gives us how many questions that we have, the marks available, and the time that you're expected to spend in terms of each question. Use the table as a guide for mark and time allocation when answering the question. You've already seen that we have a total of 3 sections, which is section A, B, and C. Section A, it's compulsory. It is just 1 question. You have a total of 30 marks, and you have 20 marks that you need to allocate to the section A. Then moving to section B. Section B, it is made up of 3 questions, and you need to answer any of the 2. You choose whether you want to answer the question 1 and 3, or question 1 and 2, or 2 and 3. It's up to you. You have to decide which one you feel more comfortable with and which one you believe you will earn more marks on. So what is important to understand, candidates, is that all those 3 questions, they are made up of a total of 40 marks. So by choosing any question, you are not going to lose any mark. So these questions, they have equal weighted marks. In terms of time that you need to spend on question or section B, you need to spend a total of 70 minutes. That to say, you have 35 minutes per question, since you need to answer any of the 2 questions in this 3 questions that you have. Then section C, which is the last section, it is an essay type question, and you have a choice to choose any one. So you choose whether you're going to go for 5 or you go for 6. And what is nice about this essay type question is that in all of them, you get 40 marks. It doesn't matter whether you choose question 5 or you choose question 6. For all of them, you'll end up getting total of 40 marks. And then in terms of minutes, you have total of 30 minutes. Then in total, you'll have 150 marks and you're expected to spend 2 hours, as I have already discussed. Now looking at number 7, begin the answer to each question on a new page. E.g., question 1, new page, question 2, new page. So we are now referring to the section. For the compulsory section, you're gonna, if you finish halfway through, you cannot start question 2 on that page. You need to start on the new page. Same thing if you choose to answer question 2 and question 3. Even if you finish halfway through question 2, you cannot start. It is advised that you do not start question 3 just after question 2. So that's what this number 7 is saying to you. So question 2 should be on the new page and question 1 should be on the new page. So each question should have its own designated page. Then number 8, you may use non-programmable calculator. During the year, your teachers would have guided you, or they would have provided you a proper guidance in terms of the use of programmable and non-programmable calculator. So what is the difference between the two? A non-programmable calculator, it's the calculator that will not store information for you, which can help you or aid you to cope in the exam. However, the programmable are those type of calculator where you can store data and recall it during exam, and you might be regarded as you are copying in the exam by using the information that you have stored. For that reason, it is important that you ensure that the calculator that you are going to be using when you're writing your paper 1, it is the very same calculator that you have been using throughout the year, and that your teacher, they have seen it and they've approved it. And then number 9, and this is one of the most important things, that you need to write neatly and legible. So what does that mean to you? It means that the next person would not need to ask from you, what were you trying to explain or what are you trying to write here? I know other people, they might come and say, no, but miss, we don't have the perfect handwriting. So what do we do in that case? Even if you do not have a good handwriting, make sure whatever that you wrote, next person is able to read and mark. Stop or try to refrain from scratching or writing and the rewriting, or try to do things that might make your paper not to look neat. So that is very important. You must write neat and legible. So now what is important for now that I need to let you know is that in this video, we are only going to respond to the first question, so or section A, which is the compulsory section of this paper. And then after, on the next video, we then look at section B. However, for this video in particular or specifically, we are only going to be looking at the section A. Now, without wasting time, let us see what we have in the section A, which is the compulsory section, as we've discussed. 1.1. Various options are provided as possible answer to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter A to D next to the question number 1.1.1 to 1.1.5. in the answer book, e.g. 1.1.6D. So what is important to take note here, candidates? You should only write only the letter. That means you're only going to say A, B, C, or D when answering. You're not supposed to provide back the full names that you have been provided. However, only the letter next to the full name that you've selected. And the example has been made to say, if you were to have 1.1.6, then the answer you believe is D, then you would have responded in the similar nature. And the last part that is important here is that you need to answer all the 5 questions that you have, which are named 1.1.1 to 1.1.5. It is also very important that when you're doing the answering, your numbering should say 1.1.1 until 1.1.5. You should not change this numbering to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or rather A, B, C, D, E, or maybe Roman figure 1, Roman figure 2, Roman figure 3, Roman figure 4 to Roman figure 5. You need to follow exactly the instruction. That is why we started by reading instruction and information, as it gives you a guide in terms of what is expected of you. Now, without wasting time, we're going to start looking at the information that we have as well as the answer. Okay, 1.1.1. This act prevent discrimination on the grounds of race, gender, and disability in the workplace. A. Consumer Protection Act or CPA, Employment Equity